Good morning, Friday morning. This is the start of the weekend for some of you, and maybe you're only getting to watch this on a Saturday morning because you were so busy yesterday, or maybe you're watching this on a Friday and you're preparing for the weekend and hopefully preparing to come back to church again. All this week we've been looking at Revelation chapter 1 verses 1 to 20, and all this week I've been focusing on the fact that the vision that John was given of the risen Lord Jesus Christ speaks to us so clearly of what's going to happen either when we die or when Christ returns and basically wraps up the world as it now is. That there is an end time, that God who started it all will also be God who finishes it, and that will be marked by the return of Jesus Christ. But also the fact that the end could be very near for any one of us because we don't know what the future holds. There's a potential for any one of us to suddenly pass away. Heaven forbid that's you, because it's not something we want to think about. But there is a need to prepare ourselves and to be ready should that moment actually arrive. And so we've been thinking this week about what way are we fixed, how are we sorted, how are we prepared for our own end time or for standing before Jesus Christ. And yesterday we thought, on Thursday's thought for the day, of this incredible, awesome picture that John was given of seeing this person who we know from references to the book of Daniel, references to the book of Ezekiel, this picture that we were given of this person standing before John was actually the risen and glorified Lord Jesus Christ. But it's not, as we thought yesterday, of some beautiful looking, well-groomed person who walked through Palestine in clean white robes and a blue belt, etc. No, this is a very different Jesus Christ. This is a Jesus Christ who really looks like he was before he gave it all up to come to earth and to be one of us. This is him in glory. This is him in judgment. This is him as we will stand before him on Judgment Day. And so the thought is that we need to be ready. We need to be prepared for that. John, we read in today's reading on our, basically we're drawing this to a close today, but in verse 17, John says, when I saw him, that's the vision we looked at yesterday. And if you missed that, take some time to read through from verses 12 through to verse 16. But verse 17 says, when I saw him, I fell at his feet as though dead. But he laid his right hand on me, saying, fear not, I am the first and the last, and the living one. I died, and behold, I am alive forevermore, and I have the keys of death and Hades. What an incredible picture, This idea that this person, and forgive me for calling him the risen, resurrected Jesus Christ, a person, but it's the only way we can properly explain this God that stood before John. And John fell at his feet. John was just so overcome, he couldn't cope with what he was seeing, and he fell literally as if he had died. And we don't know if he passed out, we don't know if he fainted, we don't know if Jesus putting his hand on him, his right hand on him, to resurrect him, to bring him back to life, to bring him back from a faint or whatever it was. But basically John said there was nothing left in him. He collapsed completely, and he might as well have been dead, because he just couldn't cope with what he was seeing. And somehow, do you think you would do any better? Do you think if you were face to face with the risen Lord Jesus Christ, you wouldn't collapse in front of him? I think every one of us will collapse, not just on bended knee, but most likely we will fall face down in front of him as if we were dead a second time. So there's this sense of this incredible picture of John before the risen Lord Jesus Christ. And then we read that, as I said, that Jesus reaches down, touches him with the right hand, and basically brings him back up again. And then the first words he says to him are, fear not, I am the first and the last and the living one. I died, and behold, I am alive forevermore. This idea Jesus is saying, yes, you've got it right. This is who I am. This is the Jesus Christ you know about, that I died. You know that I came back to life, but also be aware and know fully that I am alive forevermore. It's never going to happen to me again. What the world did to me is finished. It'll never happen again. This is me now, as I am and as I always have been. So there's this wonderful picture of John being told, first of all, not to fear, because it was the fear that produced this dead-like reaction in John. He fell face down as if dead through fear. Christ recognized that fear in him, lifted him up and said, don't be afraid. Now, how are you not afraid when you stand before the risen Lord Jesus Christ? How can you possibly not be afraid? The only way you cannot be afraid is if Jesus has said to you, you have no reason to be afraid. Now that's incredible when you think about it. That's Jesus saying to John, I know who you are. You and me, we're okay. I know you, you know me. You have no reason to be afraid. I am not here to kill you. I'm not here to send you to hell. Don't be afraid. And we know the times that Jesus said, don't be afraid to his disciples as they walked on the water coming out to them during that storm when they were making little headway in their boats. The times when Jesus reassured his followers, his disciples, not to be scared. Now we find Jesus saying, don't be afraid. And yet Jesus is in glory. Jesus has the power of judgment upon each one of us. Now there will be some who will be afraid, and Jesus will not say to them, don't be afraid. You've nothing to worry about. But in a sense, Jesus will be saying, or at least thinking, you have everything to be afraid of. You should be worried. You should be scared, because I am not here now to save you. That moment is gone. I am now your judge. And you and I both know the things that you did, the things that you said, the things that you thought, that you never asked me to forgive, that you did in rebellion against me and my laws. You should be afraid. And that's an incredible thought, that there are those for whom this fear will not be necessary, because there is no animosity between us and Jesus. But there will be others who really will be scared, and that fear will not be taken from them. They will be given no assurance. And that, my friend, that's terrifying. That is so scary. And yet it doesn't have to be that way. That's why you're listening to it today. That's why you're hearing me say this. That's why we're looking at this passage from Revelation chapter 1. Because it's not too late. You still can get things ready so that you don't have to, when you fall before Jesus, and you will, you won't have to be scared. Jesus will say, fear not, because we got things sorted, because I forgave you, because you acknowledge your sin, because you trusted in me. You've nothing to fear. You've nothing to fear. That's your thought for today. Have you something to fear? Or do you have the peace of knowing you've nothing to fear because of what Jesus has done for you? Huge challenge this week. And I know I've said the same message probably every day. And maybe I had to say it because I don't know what's going to happen next week. We don't know what's going to come. But I pray that some have heard this, or you yourself have maybe shared this message with somebody you know who maybe needed to hear it. And I do pray that from this God will be glorified, and that some will turn to him and put their trust in him, and know that in doing so they have that fear lifted from them, that they are now in good standing with Jesus Christ. So I'm praying for you today if that's you. And if you need to talk to me, please get in touch and I can make time. In the meantime, God bless you this weekend. Have a good Friday, and we'll see what happens on Monday morning if we're all back together again. God bless.